Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of I'm No Expert, the podcast about everything and nothing. I am Jason with Prometheus Lights, and I am here as always with my co-host Benjamin. How you doing, boss?
I'm great. How are you?
I don't know. How do I sound?
There's so many changes. This is 2021, baby. You sound amazing.
Ah,
Almost as good as I sound.
almost as good, but not quite. We'll talk about that on the music episode. Why I sound bad and you sound good.
It's got to come from the diaphragm.
Yeah, been working on that.
New microphones. This is 2021, baby. Upgrade city. New microphones. We're using the Zencaster video sort of beta feature, and we're gonna talk about coming attractions. This is it.
This is it.
We got a lot going on. We got a new president.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah,
The
new
new.
president,
That was
new. It's
yesterday, by the
that
way.
was yesterday. Yes, this is the day after the inauguration, and you know what? The America is still standing. It did not burn down.
As far as I know.
As
Maybe they're
far
just
as
not showing it on the news.
It could be that. It could be that. So last episode we were going to talk coming attractions. You bailed. You chickened out and took it in a different direction and wanted to talk about VR.
It's because I
And
don't like talking about work all the time, Ben.
but we are going to do it. I am forcing. I'm forcing this one,
You
and
are.
the people want to know.
Can we talk about our new equipment first, though?
Yeah, you were the one that you were the one that said that you were getting this microphone. And I said, well, you're not doing that alone because I'm not going to have you with a better microphone. So
You're not going to put me
this
in the
is
middle.
your doing. So you talk us through it.
All right. Well, apparently I talk pretty loud, which I don't think anyone that knows me would say I was a loud talker, but my microphone tells me so. So that makes it true. So the microphones we had before were what were they from Newer?
Yeah,
Some weird, pretty large Chinese uh, like audio and electronics brand. Like their stuff is pretty good. I would say it was stunningly good for like the $40 or something.
yeah, it's pretty
I mean,
bottom
when you
barrel.
told me we were going to buy $40 microphones, I was like, why don't we just use the microphone on the webcam, Ben? But they got really good reviews, and so we bought one, and it is way better than the microphone on your webcam, for example. But when I talk loud, it peaks out. And I was just like, I don't like that. I want everything to be good and to sound professional. And that just grated on me. Um, so I think the problem with that is that microphone is not a dynamic microphone, which means it is not very good at handling a range of volume for people who shout when they talk, like me.
For people who
But
just can't control their emotions.
yeah, I'm one of those crazy podcasters that gets up and runs around. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I did a ton of research. So we ended up buying Rode microphones.
Did,
Um,
did, did you just Google what microphone does Alex Jones use?
if I
Is that
knew who Alex Jones
I
was, I
don't
would
know.
have done that.
Go
Am I
on.
supposed to know this?
I know the listener does. Go ahead. Go ahead. You'll find
Uh,
out
oh,
afterwards.
is he the jump up and run
He's
around
just
guy?
the crazy
Who's the
conspiracy
Mad Money
theorist.
guy?
Alex Jones is the crazy conspiracy theorist podcaster. Anyway,
Perfect. I'll have to go check it out.
he must have a dynamic microphone. So
Um,
yeah, Rode
this is a
Procaster.
Rode Procaster. There is a lower level and a higher level. This is the medium one. It's like 10 times as expensive as the other microphone we were using. So I hope the audio quality is 10 times as good. Um, but I use Rode. I'm actually pretty brand loyal. When I find something that I like, I'll stick with it. So like I have a Rode lav mic that I use not as much anymore, but for recording like Kickstarter videos and stuff. And I also have a Rode. I don't even know what it's called, like micro video or something, um, that I use on my, I don't know, around the shop for recording. It's stuff for YouTube and things like that. Anyway, these are our big boy microphones.
Big boy microphones. It was time for us to step up.
It was. And then we also finally got access to the Zencastr video beta. So we've been using Zencastr to record the audio, but I've always been like, man, it would be cool to record video, and put this up on YouTube as well. So now this is our first time trying both of these things. So I hope it all goes smoothly.
Yeah, this is it. This is what we do. We iterate.
Trial by fire.
Prototype and iterate.
Right.
Okay, well, I think that you've delayed the inevitable long enough, and now we're going to have to talk about we did this. We've done this. I think we did this last year, right? Didn't we do a coming attractions? Yeah. And you got to talk about what you had in store for 2020, and COVID was not one of them, but that's what we got. In addition to like the beta magnetic and a bunch of cool stuff. But this year, we're in the middle of it right now. We have a Glow Rhino group buy going on right now. So that's the Tritium keychain fob, self-powered keychain. Yeah, glow in the dark keychain.
Video.
Sorry, oh my God, yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, if you're just listening, go to Jason's Instagram and check out some of the pictures of this. But Glow Rhino is the company. This is sort of the first project in what you anticipate will be maybe a few other collaborations this year. And let's just talk through first of all this little fob. Like how did you come to know Glow Rhino? They reach out to you? Had you heard of them before they reached out?
I had seen it in passing before. For some reason, I don't know if I saw an ad or something. So I was familiar with the brand. And yeah, they did reach out and they were like, hey, what do you think about doing some stuff together? And I was like, wait, what is this? So Glow Rhino is, as far as I know, we've been saying it, so I hope it's true, the only licensed Tritium installer in the US for EDC products. So there are other companies that make watches and stuff like that, but you need a license to put Tritium into products in the US. Not so in other countries, but that is true here. So when I started out, okay, should we explain what Tritium is?
Yeah.
I'll do it very quickly. It's basically a tiny glass vial. There's one of them in here. They come in different sizes and shapes. The inside of the glass vial is coated with phosphor, which glows when it is excited by energy. That's how LEDs work. But the energy in a tritium vial is tritium gas, which is just slightly radioactive. And that radioactivity bombards the phosphor and causes it to glow on its own. So most glow-in-the-dark things, you have to like charge it up with a light or something. Tritium glows by itself.
It has a half-life of 12 years, I learned.
It has a half-life of 12 years. So yeah, that means after 12 years, the radiation will have decayed by half and it will be half as bright. But it's actually a pretty common thing to find in watches that are self-illuminating. Like I think that company Luminox, they sort of specialize in that. It's also used in a lot of exit signs, which I don't think most people know about, but
yeah, I didn't know that.
Exit sign to be visible in the dark without having to change batteries and stuff like that. They put tritium in those.
Make you think twice about smashing an exit sign as a drunk hooligan. No. And just to sort of reiterate that it is a very harmless radioactive gas, right? What I read is it can't penetrate your skin, can't penetrate a sheet of paper, and it's encased in like a pretty robust glass vial that is not going to break. So it's safe, is what I'm saying.
So you can break the glass vial. But typically the amount of tritium gas inside the vial is like so small. And it's also enclosed in other things. So, it should be a non-issue. But there are different types of radiation. Gamma radiation is the kind that either kills you or turns you into a superhero. That's like the really powerful one, like Chernobyl style. But beta radiation is very weak. And like you said, it won't pass through anything. You would have to directly ingest it. So which could be a problem for the Tide Pod crowd. But
This
for
is the
all of
new
you
challenge,
who
the
know not
Tritium
to look at
challenge.
weird things, yeah.
So this is what's happening right now. This is the first of what you said will be, some projects with
Oh
Glow
yeah,
Rhino, and that's what I
I
want
was
to know.
answering a question. I forgot.
Yeah, yeah, I want to know
So
what's next.
thank you for the reminder. Um, so I Tritium is very cool. It's somewhat common in flashlights. It's a little dicey though, because sometimes it's illegal, or you have to buy the vials and install them yourself, which is fine, which is also legal. It's confusing. Um, but I stayed away from it once I started a business. But it's awesome to have on a flashlight because what's hard to find in the dark? A flashlight.
Yeah,
And the tritium makes it easier. So that's one of the big things is we can send our product to have tritium installed by Glow Rhino. So that's one big thing that's coming up. Um, no idea how that's going to work. We're just kind of taking some small steps and ramping that up. But yeah, so basically to sort of kick this off, these tritium fobs are a product that Glow Rhino already carries. Um, so I don't know, they're awesome and everybody should have one. So we're doing a group buy on that. You've probably missed it if you're listening to this podcast and you didn't pay attention to the newsletter and the 500,000 social posts that we're doing. Um, so yeah, the glow fob is kind of step one. We've got some other steps planned. We just want to do some cool stuff, and we also want to do it legally. And the other thing is, you can buy a lot of things that take tritium vials, but again, you have to source that tritium somewhere else and install it. So this is all ready to go, and you don't have to futz around with it.
yeah, amazing. I'm sure most people who are listening have already gotten in on that. It seems like it's going pretty
It is
well.
going quite well, I would say.
Yeah. Well, this EDC crowd know their stuff. Like they know cool shiz when they see it.
They knew cool stuff when it's delivered to them in a newsletter.
Yeah. And who doesn't want something radioactive in their pocket?
I know.
Let's get real. Next, okay, so let's transition to 47 stuff. MXS, MX3.
Yeah, so basically two big lights that are coming back. Both of these, I would think, have been like over a year in development. COVID is a big part of that. Developing new flashlights is also, I think, way harder than it's given credit for, particularly at a production scale. Like I can make a new light if I have the electronics for it, but trying to make a lot of those and uh, it's just hard and it takes a long time. So we're very close. The MXS S stands for standby, and it's basically a flashlight that has inductive charging through a stand. If I was prepared, I would have had one here. Um, but that alleviates a bunch of the problems you have with plug-in charging ports in terms of them breaking all the time and being a place where dirt and water can access your flashlight. So the inductive charging, it works like your phone on a charging pad. You set it on there and it charges without any cords or um, things to rip out of the flashlight and get damaged or otherwise fail. So that's going to be sweet. Um, and then the MX3, which is a triple LED light. Both of these lights take a 26 650 battery, which is a larger size. And so uh, the MX3 is going to basically follow the old MMU X3R, which was too many letters, so shortened it a little bit. Um, yeah, so it's 4.7's bigger, more powerful light. We are going to be using the new 90 CRI 319 LEDs in this, so it will not be the most powerful light on Earth because that's kind of not what I'm into. But it's going to be gorgeous. It's the same LED we're using in the slate blue quarks right now.
Got it. The standby.
Yeah.
So the feature for inductive charging, like how much does that complicate the flashlight? Because I know that from a design standpoint, you're all about simplicity.
Yeah.
sort of resisted in light charging and the like. But this is this is one of those features. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I mean, if you've been paying attention to me, I do not like lights that have plug-in charging. Um, there are a number of different reasons for that. One is it just breaks, and this is true. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with owners from other flashlight companies, and it's just the number one thing that breaks. So anytime you add complexity or add features, those are things that are going to potentially break. Why does my iPhone port not break all the time? I don't know, because they spend billions of dollars on developing it. Um, so the inductive charging gets around some of that complexity while still giving you the convenience of being able to charge the light without opening it.
Yep.
It does still take a standard battery, though. So if you're using it and it runs out of power, you can just open it and put a new battery in, assuming you have a spare, and you can keep going. So one of the other big drawbacks to some plug-in lights is that when the battery's dead, you have to wait however many hours for it to get charged again.
Right.
Um, in terms of complexity, I was a little bit conflicted on that. But I think in this case, I'm accepting that increase in complexity because we don't have to put any extra holes in the light for charging access, which
Yeah.
means, like I said, dirt and water can also
Yeah.
access that. It doesn't involve any moving parts. But the reason it's called the standby is because it does have a charging stand. And so the use case for this is probably at home, or at least that's what I use it for. I have this light by the back door, so whenever I have to go out back or take the dog out or anything, that light is on the stand, it is charged and ready to go. You just pull it off. It can also detect when you plug the charging base into the wall. When that loses power, the flashlight turns on automatically. So if the power goes
That's pretty
out,
right.
the light's like, oh, I think your power's out, come find me.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, clearly, like on the nightstand makes the most sense too.
Sure.
Just right next to your bed.
Yeah. And then when you remove the light from the charging stand, it comes on as well in the lowest setting. And so it's a very simple mechanism. It just knows that power is no longer flowing into the charger, and that makes it turn on. So if you unplug it from the wall, that'll make it turn on. You can obviously turn it off again. Or if you pick it up, that'll make it turn on. Or if the power goes out, that'll make it turn on. But it does always come on in the lowest setting. So it's not like a train's coming at you all of a sudden.
I've always felt like that was one of the harder things to determine if you're living in a house that doesn't have a generator, or even if you are, and you go to bed at night and you're in a snowstorm, windstorm, hurricane, which we've had blow through Vermont like pretty regularly. There are circumstances where we're going to lose power. You want to know if you wake up in the middle of the night, like you want to know, have we lost power? Because there might be a number of things you would tend to, the refrigerator, like take your pick. And you wouldn't know that if you wouldn't know that because all your lights are off. So there's nothing really around the room. I don't have a ton of things plugged in. I try to keep my room pitch black intentionally. So no blue light, no standby lights. So to have just that one thing sitting by your table so that when you go to bed at night and you're like, we might lose power in the middle of the night, you wake up and that thing's on, you just instantly know, okay, I got to get to work. Like there's a couple things I got to go check,
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Oh, and that one is a side switch light, and the side button is also illuminated, so you can still find it in the dark.
So rad. And I know you hate answering this question, but when can we expect to see these?
Like 6 months ago. So I believe final production, I'm hoping they can ship it before Chinese New Year, but maybe not. That's always one big hurdle in the beginning of any new year, is basically all of China shuts down for essentially 2 weeks.
Yep.
For Chinese New Year. So everyone on Earth is scrambling to get production finished before then. So that also makes it take longer. So they'll get here when they get here.
I wish that there was a reason for our country to shut down for 2 straight weeks. I mean,
how about shut down for a year?
We kind of, yeah, it's true. Too soon. It's too soon.
Unintended consequences.
Yeah. Oh, that's like the great unknown. Just all fingers crossed for 2021 that we
Yeah.
don't see a resurgence or any, let's just open things back up. Anyway,
But yes, 2-week national holiday. I'd be on
we
board.
kind of do it around like Christmas, New Year's, but
Yeah,
not really. 25th to the 1st is,
but it's
I think most people are kind of off, but that's not
yeah,
2 weeks.
not 2 weeks.
Well, like 2 weeks is what, if you work for a private company and you're just like a grunt, like that's basically what you get. You get 2 weeks vacation in
Yeah,
America.
which is crazy.
That's crazy. That is just not living. Like add that up over like a 40, say you had like a 40-year career and just add up the number of days that you're not working.
Yeah,
That's just not a life.
no.
I mean, unless you're doing something that you love,
Even
which,
then, I think you
which,
should take
here we
2 weeks.
are podcasting. Can't even call this work, Jason. Um,
Some
okay.
people do.
Some people do.
People,
Moving.
people who are experts call this.
Yeah. Yeah. If they have sponsors.
Yeah.
Ahem.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Sponsors.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
So 2021 is going to see it's going to see a comeback, isn't it? The Alpha TI.
Oh yeah. So we have not had alpha titanium lights for, I don't know, at least a couple years. It's just we've been busy. We have not had time on the machines. Um, I mean, for us, it's a relatively big part. It's a lot of material to move. That material is expensive, takes a lot of tooling, and that's also 3 machined parts to get one product, which is also quite a bit of work. So we have finally been able to squeeze that in, partly thanks to the new lathe running some more regular production stuff. So um, the machining is done. We just have to get some drops scheduled and get them finished out and stuff like that. But it should be imminent. We also made some shorty bodies for the titanium lights. Um, Normally, we've never sold a titanium shorty before. Normally, shorty bodies are accessories, but I think we may go ahead and just offer a few short lights as well as the full size ones.
Love it. And no, so drops are imminent. Like you could see one next month potentially.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm crossing my fingers on screen.
And to find out for sure, you just send Ian an email. Should we just drop his email address right here so he
Yeah, his
gets
personal
blast it?
email. We'll put that in the link, and everyone can just.
So the UG LED that you threw into the, what is it, the beta magnetic, right?
Yes.
You had some plans there.
Yeah, so we were basically trialing this LED in the beta magnetic. It is 95 plus CRI, so it's the highest color rendering that we put into any flashlight. I want to keep pushing that limit, and to do that, we're basically evaluating putting that LED into all standard beta production. So right now, that is the plan. It's still fairly far out. We've got to do some testing and stuff first to make sure it's going to work like we want it to. But it should be more awesome piled on top of awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love just that you just keep pushing that envelope. I love the commitment to high CRI. Just live and die. I love it.
This is the way.
This is the way. Mando needs that high CRI.
Mando don't do low CRI.
Mando don't do low
That guy
CRI.
doesn't do anything halfway.
Yeah, if ever there was a walking case study for tools not toys, it's Mando and sort of everything on him. Like that is the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing extraneous. I know that we didn't have this on our list, but it came to my mind. What about more pocket knives? You got anything planned there?
Oh gosh. I have plenty of plans, Ben. I mean, I would like to. I don't know that we're necessarily going to make it because we already make so many different things. It's
Yeah.
pretty tough to keep up with. I would like to have a Prometheus pocket knife at some point. So I mean, this has been a very lightweight discussion with Giant Mouse, um, but I'd like to get there eventually. I don't know, but we may still, um, potentially do some more customization on their knives. They actually have sold decently well just carrying their standard knives on the site.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, I think it's a good knife at a good price, and a knife is certainly a staple for any EDC, particularly for people who use Amazon.
for sure.
You need to have a good pocket knife.
For sure. Oh man, that's no joke right there.
You don't want to look like a fool when you're trying to open your Amazon
I
box.
push you like push in the sides
Yeah,
and then
like
rip it out. That
infomercial style. Oh no,
yeah. Eh.
I cut my hand off.
Speaking of website, that is another something that's coming in 2021, isn't it?
Yes, I hope it does not take longer than that.
Yeah.
So we are in the middle of a huge website refresh. It's being done by professionals and not me, so hopefully that's a good thing. But yeah, I mean, that's one of those things where people are like, "Oh, you should get a new website." And I'm like, "Do you know how much work that is?"
Yeah, it's an insane amount.
Slash money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping it'll be worth it. Get things tightened up a little bit. Be
I will say
smoother.
to the listener that I've seen a number of the iterations like that around the mock-ups, and I think it looks baller. I just think it looks great. I think it's reflective of your design aesthetic.
I certainly hope so.
Simple, elegant, and is sort of transparent. Communicates well.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the main things is just trying to make stuff easier to find. Which again, like we have a lot of stuff, which some people are critical of,
Yeah,
but I think it all has a point, and it all fits into the big picture. It's not that we have random things.
yeah.
Um, so hopefully that'll be a little more navigable.
Last, well, not last, but on the product side of things, want to talk light bulbs a little bit.
I did want to talk about light bulbs. So yeah, I mean, this is both coming attractions and also recently released. So if you haven't been paying attention, we have started carrying light bulbs. Um, they are also ultra high CRI, not just high CRI, so 95 plus CRI. Um, so we have some filament bulbs that are basically replacements for incandescent bulbs. So they're a warm color. Um, I think they're great. We use them, in our house wherever we have that kind of light bulb. Um, if you guys buy enough of them, then we will potentially have other color temperatures and different brightnesses and that sort of thing. But this is one of those things that we just have to try to scale, and that is entirely dependent on people buying the product. So go check it out. They're filament LED bulbs. I don't know. I think they're awesome. I have them in my office at work. Uh, and we also have a PAR 30, which is a size designation. It's basically a floodlight shape size bulb. We are using this as the light bulb in our task lights. You can also buy them separately on the website. And one cool thing about them is they're focusable between a 60-degree, I think it's a 60-degree and a 10-degree beam, which can be very handy. I use it basically for controlling brightness. So on the task light, if you're up close, you might want to spread that beam out more.
Yep.
And if you want to mount the task light further away, you can just focus it down and then aim it at what you're looking at.
How many do you have at the shop?
How many bulbs?
No, how many of the task lights?
Oh, I think we actually only have two of them because we sell them all.
They bounce around.
No, they tend to stay fixed. We have one on the manual lathe and one on the arbor press,
Yeah.
basically for doing detail work. I should put one on the mill, but I have a different, very old task light that I made on there, and honestly, we don't use the manual mill a ton anymore.
How do the rest of the guys like it? Like Gilbert, Joe, do they use it?
Yeah, I mean it's like so much better. then I had an old halogen task light that
Yeah.
works fine, but it gets super hot, and it's a little more in the way. Um, and the magnet on it was bad, so it was like falling over all the time. But I mean, I was just checking. We basically sell as many as I can make, and so I literally personally make all of them at this point. And we 3D print most of the main components. Printing 2 task lights takes 30 hours, so our capacity isn't that high. But I think it's partly just cool that you can 3D print end use parts,
Yeah.
um, which is fairly uncommon in the 3D printing world. That you can print parts that you can actually use that aren't just prototypes. But we've, I think, sold 70, which, numbers wise, that's not that crazy, but it sure feels like a lot to me because I hand assemble everyone.
Yeah, that
In
is a good
between
amount.
doing other things. But
Um,
the feedback's been great. I've actually been a little bit surprised. And like we'll have people come back and buy multiple ones and stuff like that.
yeah, I'm really surprised too that anyone likes anything that you make. But
Thanks,
here we
man.
are.
Appreciate that.
Well, speaking of 3D printers, were we going to talk about that?
I guess so. I've sort of been avoiding it because it's dumb. I bought a new 3D printer, and basically my rigger, who is the guy that moves my machinery, he was like, "Hey, we just closed out this medical device company. They have a 3D printer they want to let go for really cheap." So it's like, okay, let's do it. Um, this is one of those things where maybe I should have learned more about it before I bought it, but the price was so good I couldn't say no. Um, so yeah, it's very fancy, and it prints plastic only, and it's a little bit older machine. But I was like, I don't know, I just want to try this out. Um, it'll be easier to explain in a video, but I'm gonna try printing some new stuff on it, and see what the part quality is like. And ideally, I wanted to use it to print parts that we're going to use in products and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
also use it for prototyping.
Have you played around with it much?
I've sort of been familiarizing myself with it, but actually some of the parts are missing,
Got it.
and I've got to buy material. I mean, this is one of the crazy things where you have to buy the material from the company, and each 2 kilogram bottle of it is like $600.
Got it.
So it is not terribly cheap to operate,
Yeah.
and it uses wax as a support. Um, so with most 3D printing processes, you can't just print in thin air. You need to have support from the bottom because gravity.
Right.
Um, and a lot of printers will use either its own material. So the Markforged printer I have prints the support with the standard material. It just leaves a tiny gap in between so you can separate that instead of welding it together.
Yep.
This machine uses wax to encase it, and then you have to like put it in an oven and melt the wax
Melt the
off,
wax.
and then put it in a cleaner and get the final residue off, and then wash the parts. So I'm like, oh, I didn't totally realize it was that involved.
Yeah, that's a
um,
process.
and I think every part it just print support, which I also didn't really realize. In a lot of programs you can opt to use it or not. With this one, I think there are no options.
No
It just
options.
does it. And the reason it does that is so the accuracy is very high.
Got it.
So we'll be playing around with that, and hopefully making some videos and stuff as well.
And that brings us to the sort of last point for our coming attractions, and that is more YouTube videos.
Oh, that was an accident, but that was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like you planned this.
Almost.
More YouTube videos. So more fun around the shop. This podcast we're going to start putting up on the YouTube channel under a playlist, the Omno Expert playlist.
Yeah, I mean, I
think
figure we might as well.
Yeah. Hopefully more product, like more, just more like product videos. I know that there was a request. I saw a request for actually videos of the task light. Like just how does it work? You using it, some fun stuff like that. I think anytime you're...
Which made me think, did we ever edit that video? Because I shot some video.
That's a good question.
I should go back. We also, I mean, there's like we have a few things in the can,
Yeah.
um, which we can also work on. I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube. I always like seeing the final result, and also I like the idea that it might be useful to people who watch it.
Yeah.
But whenever I'm in the shop, I'm just like so busy. I never am like, I want to spend 2 or 3 times as long to complete this task so I can record all of
I can't blame you. I can't blame
it.
you. You got enough going on.
Yeah, that was one of the cool parts about not having a business. I mean, like back in the beginning when I was just doing this stuff sort of for my amusement, I was like equally into the, photo and video, and like writing blog posts about it back
Yep.
when people used to do that sort of thing.
Yep.
But now I'm just scrambling all the time.
Yeah. Too much operation stuff. I mean, you could probably hire someone, just a videographer, to follow you around. Come in 3 hours of the day while you're in the shop, and just be shooting. Just be shooting you.
Yeah, that would be my ideal. I would love to have a full-time video person like some of these other cats do. Um, but that does cost money.
Yeah.
So if you want to see full-time video, maybe buy something. Maybe tell your friends about our stuff.
Fund the
Chilling my
fun.
own products.
Fund the
Um,
fun. I mean,
but
come
yeah,
on.
I mean, so the timing is also a hard thing because a lot of the time I'm like writing email and stuff, and then if somebody's not there full time and I pop up to do something, like unless I record it, that's gonna get missed.
Yeah.
But that would be cool. I mean, I guess the other thing is for our listeners or potentially our YouTube viewers, like if you want to see specific things, please let me know. Um, it's much more motivating to do work that somebody else would like to see
Yeah. Even if it's one
rather
person.
than doing work that nobody wants to see. So this is your big chance.
I think that we need to get you an intern. I think we find an intern who can use a camera. They're going to get credit.
We need one person who can do everything.
I love this idea of you having an intern. You're going to make them a shirt that says intern,
Intern.
and they're going to
What
follow
else?
you around and just document everything.
Yeah.
I-
It's
I'm,
also a little harder to do with COVID. Put a
oh
little
yeah,
damper on some of
that
it.
that is true. They're just going to have to become part of your pod.
Yeah.
They're going to live. This intern will live with you in your guest house,
No, in the shop.
in the shop.
Yeah.
I
Well,
like this person. I like this intern. I like their commitment already. I think that they're going to
yeah,
be my new favorite person.
you gotta have some grit.
Um, then, all right. So real quick before we sign off, we don't have a maker minute. I mean, you are obviously our maker minute. I think you were for the Coming Attractions 2020.
Why, thank you, Ben.
Yeah, well, you've earned it. And once a year it is your time. But let's quickly before we sign off, and this is putting you on the spot, and it's putting me on the spot. I don't even know what mine is, but
Can't wait.
2020 coming attraction, 2021 coming attraction / goal. Like, what is the one thing you want to accomplish in 2021? Like, beyond anything else.
The one thing I want to accomplish in 2021 is to be less stressed out.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah.
Stress management.
I mean, I mean that sort of globally.
Yeah,
Um, both in terms of workload, both in terms of in-shop efficiency. I just want to like get all parts of the business, not one specific thing, just to a point where it feels comfortable. um, I mean, there's been a lot of scrambling and a lot of catch up, and I mean, even with the 4.7 stuff, we took over our 4.7s in 2018, and we still don't have the full product line ramped back up, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh,
yeah. Like you're sitting on
I'm
your
not
butt.
sure what they're like. They're
Right.
like, what's the problem, bro? That's what they're like. Like,
That's
stop
exactly.
being so lazy.
Yeah.
Stop sucking so much. And I'm like, man, this has been all in. I mean, it's basically a second full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And COVID and all that.
Yeah.
So
You're
trying
crushing.
to get it all done,
You're
man.
crushing. You want to be at cruising altitude when you
Yeah.
can like kick back, have a coffee and a donut, maybe
I mean,
check
I want
in.
I want everybody to be more relaxed. I mean, it's just it's hard when things are like for you as well, 110% all the time.
Yeah,
And I think 2020 that it demanded that kind of output from us to make sure the boat didn't sink.
for sure.
And so we actually had a solid year, but man, it was a lot of work. So
Yeah,
I would like to, I don't know, do some working smarter.
there it
Uh,
is.
and to be honest, like a lot of that revolves around generating more revenue,
For sure.
which
So
is
like
a
it always does.
way of like selling you guys stuff. um, so I mean, I always come back to this, and this is a total tangent at this point, but I see we're only at 42 minutes, so I can waste a lot more of your time. Sharing is unbelievably important. Whether you're like, oh, I know somebody who will like this specific thing and I'm going to send it to them, or just sharing stuff on social media without any thought or effort, like that still reaches people. And I guarantee at least one person who, is excited about the kind of stuff that we do. Um, and I don't know, I think people like underestimate the impact that that simple act has. And this is true for all makers. Um, and I mean, I think all businesses in general, but I feel like small businesses and makers, like when we say we need your support, that is not hyperbole. It is literally the difference between being successful and not.
Yeah.
Um, I have a totally tangential gripe. We can edit this out
No, I
if you
want to.
want.
I want to hear it, and so do they.
I hope so. So followers. Um, Having more followers, if you use social media as a business, is actually very important. Um, Part of that is when you are working with other companies or reaching out to other companies and they're like, who's this guy? When they go on your social media, because that's what comes up when they try to search your stuff, or they go to your website or whatever. Like, how much impact do we have? How much reach do we have? And that is essentially how much can we help this other company
Sure.
um, that we're interested in working with. So one thing, and I try not to do this very often, I look at like our follower analytics,
Yeah.
like how many followers have we gained in a certain period of time. And I'm always like, okay, you people who are unfollowing, what am I doing wrong?
Oh, I
Like,
know. That's a weird one. That's a weird one, and honestly, there have been instances, and I don't. This wouldn't apply to Prometheus Lights, but where accounts are just losing followers who aren't actually trying to unfollow them, like Instagram is unfollowing for them, and I
oh,
don't
is
know
that
why. Yeah, that has happened on other accounts, but I don't think that would be the case here. It's a great question. I don't know. I mean, some
or
people.
maybe they're killing bot accounts or something. I don't have any idea. I feel like we're so small that that's probably not an issue for us.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
I also think that yeah, after the social dilemma came out, I think that we saw a lot more people just going, yeah, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise out there, and I'm just going to clean house.
Okay, so that I think leads into my next point. Um, if you follow a business or maker, and again, I think the smaller that organization, the more important it is, right? If you've got, 4 million followers, it doesn't matter if you lose a couple hundred.
Yeah.
But for us, it does. For other small makers, it does. If you don't want to see the content that we're producing, but you believe in what we're doing, just mute. Don't unfollow. And I mean, like this, it's a little bit embarrassing. This is something I've actually thought about a lot. But again, this is not just about me. This is about all the makers and small businesses that you follow. That's fine if our content is annoying you for some reason, or if it's too frequent or whatever. But just mute it. And again, if you're like, I like what you're doing, I don't really want to hear about it. That's fine. Follow, mute.
Yeah.
Um, and then we still get that benefit, and we're not going to bother you.
Yeah.
And it's like a little, it's like a handshake or a thank you that's like, hey, cool stuff. Don't want to hear about it all the time.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
That's yeah. It's, I think
And
it's
rant.
and and
Mute,
rant
don't
and rant.
unfollow.
Don't mute. Don't unfollow.
And I mean, I apply this too because as I'm browsing Instagram, I'm like, oh, this is sweet work. I might not even be totally interested in like the subject matter. It's just I appreciate what you're doing. I will follow and then I will mute.
Yeah.
And I maybe actually that creates a problem in the algorithm. I don't know. But again, when I'm like, hey, company ABC, we want to work with you, they're going to go and see what kind of reach we have.
For sure.
And the bigger that reach is, the more they're going to want to work with us.
For sure. No, amen. It's a good point. And like you said, applies to anyone listening, applies to all makers, like all small businesses.
Yeah.
Every little bit counts both ways. Works both
Indeed
ways.
It does.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for 2021. Excited for some of this stuff coming out. Obviously, like pumped to see the Glow Rhino take off. That's such an awesome little fob.
Yeah, the response to that has been really good. So I hope that bodes well for our future work.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason,
go buy some light bulbs, man.
What's that? Yeah, buy some light bulbs.
Buy some light bulbs. Just try it out.
Change your light. Change your life.
It might change your life.
Yep. And I appreciate you opening up. I know this is you don't like talking about yourself. You don't like selling yourself, talking about what's to come. But I like listening to it, and I don't think I'm the only one. Listener, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the support. Oh, I was going to say, don't forget, if you are enjoying the podcast, please do feel free to leave a review or rate us on Apple iTunes. That does go a long way. I noticed there's a couple of reviews up there. Pretty sweet to see. And that is the wind beneath our wings. I'm Ben. I'm no expert.
I'm Jason. I'm no expert. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I'm on video and audio.